Now this is the story of the greatest idol that was ever made. Pay attention, I'm going to give you a historical lesson. This is the way man communicated in the old days. This is the first writings. They were on the stones. The first writing was on stones. Indians would leave marks. Different tribes of people would leave messages in stones. We still have them today. And the stones are the first written messages. Our Holy Father himself wrote on tablets of stone. And this was the Ten Commandments. Now, the first covenant God wrote was holy. It was written on tablets of stone. Today, he don't write his laws on tablets of stone. He writes it not with ink, but in our heart. This will clear up some fallacies people have about the Bible. If you pay close attention to this, this will show you the Bible is not what you think it is. Now, here's the clay tablets. These were used for writing. They would take and write on this clay, and then they'd put them in the fire, and the clay would harden up, and it would leave the writings on there. They'd have writings. This is the way they'd send messages, or this is the way they'd communicate. Took a long time to get letters and everything, but this is what Daniel's saying, that knowledge would increase. You'll notice this year after year. I'm going to go through many years here, and you'll see knowledge increasing as we go along. Now, papyrus come on after the clay. Papyrus was made out of the reeds down in Egypt. And some of this papyrus was 40 yards long. It was 100 and some feet long. They'd roll it up and they would write on this papyrus. This is the way they had of communicating. Now, you're coming into different stages of time and different years, and watch how the Bible develops through all. It's a man-made thing, and it's developed by man. This is the idol that man made. Now, here's what the Romans used. They would use wax. And they could take something and write in wax and send messages and all, and they would write on wax. So you see, they write on papyrus, they write on wax, they write on clay, or they write on stones. They didn't have telephones or newspapers. All they had was their own hands, and this is the way that they would communicate, by writing down on wax tablets. The Romans would. Now here's where parchment come in. Now this brings you up to the days of Jesus and Paul and them. Parchments progressively replaced the papyrus. And this is donkey skins, antelope skins, lamb skins, anything they could get. It was hard to get because it's expensive writing on this. Now this is what Paul wrote on. This is what Jesus, and the little book, they say Jesus, the book was brought to Jesus in the temple, and that's a dirty low down lie. They brought him a scroll. They didn't have a book. Now remember this message. You'll learn something. They did not have books in these days. Now, what if you seen the angel with a little book in his hand? Look at this man with a scroll. This is probably Isaiah or something. Scrolls were put on these vertical wooden axes, and they would roll them out and read them. You can't put one of these in your hand. These things, this is what Jesus and them had. When they brought him the scroll of Isaiah, this is what they brought him. They did not bring him a book. Everybody today reading the Bible thinks everybody had a book. They didn't have no books. It took a monk 20 years to write a Bible. Now here's Paul with his parchment. He told Timothy in the 4th chapter of 2 Timothy, said, be specially bring the parchment, because the parchment was hard to get. And Paul, if you read the book of Ephesians or Galatians or something, it was on parchment. It was on animal skins. That's the way they wrote. They didn't have no books. The book would be like telling you that Peter caught the train. They didn't have no train. You dummies, listen real close. They didn't have no books. Now paper replaced parchment in about the medieval times, from the 5th century on through the 15th century. They have what they call incunables after to the 15th century. It was like a baby. They was printing and printing and printing. They did not have it perfected. So paper replaced the parchment. Now you're getting it's 500 years after Jesus where you got paper and things to start printing, and I think the Chinese got it. Now here comes the Codex. Codex means they stacked them on top of one another. They'd have letters on top of one, lay them flat on a table. They didn't have to roll them out like you did on a scroll on wooden pegs. You could lay them flat. It's easier to read, easier to mark your place, and they had it in a Codex form. That meant this is the baby. This is incunably of the printing time. This is when they put them all on stacks of paper. This is your Codex time. Now, you're coming on later into time. Now, here's the Emperor Diocletian. He burned a lot of Christian texts. And this shows you don't have all of them. They left a lot of them out with Constantine in 330 AD. This man was before Constantine. But he burned them. He made Christians bow down to Roman gods. He made them make sacrifices to Roman gods. And so you don't have all the texts of the Christians because he burned them all. And they have to write new ones up. So you see, this thing takes 20 years to write up a whole Bible. Now here you're coming up into the 14th century. John Gutenberg made a printing press. He was a German, and the first Bible that came out was a German Bible. It was written in German. See, they had many different languages. They used to print in Hebrew, Latin, and Greek. But now this is your first book. Remember that. 1455, the entry of the first book. Don't remember? You think that they had books back in Jesus' days? Now remember, now it took 2 months to print a Bible on a printing press in Gutenberg's day. You could print 6 Bibles a year. Now you think everybody had a Bible? They couldn't even read. People, wake up. Knowledge has increased, and learn the history of what you're worshiping. You don't even know what you're worshiping. You're worshiping something man-made, and you don't even know they didn't have them hardly. Even in Gutenberg days, hard to get a Bible. It's very expensive. The Catholic Church stole all the letters from the Torah and kept it for themselves. It gave them power, you see. Now here's the homosexual. He printed up a Bible in 1611. The printing press was getting a little better, but this book that he printed in them days, man, that thing was big. I mean, 10 inches long or something like that. It was big. Them letters they printed on them. And this was where your God started. Now this is a God made by hand and made by man. And it took 20 years in Monk's days. It was a lifetime thing to print up a Bible. Now here's where your belly is going to be bitter. Because all you Bible worshipers that's eating this book, going through Bible college and everything, this is man-made. This is the God of this world. This has deceived the whole world. You throw the Koran in, and you've just about got everybody under holy books. This is the book that will make your belly bitter. Do not eat this book. You will stand in front of Jesus in horrible condition. Now, it's a man-made idol. God told me the Bible is an idol. It's a man-made idol. They sell billions of these things. There's more Bibles than there are people. This is a man-made idol. This is the one that people worship. They're controlled by it. Today you can run them off. They run them off in Nashville by the million. And they send them out all over the world. The American Bible Society or the Gideons. I mean, their sound don't go into all the world today like the apostles. Their sound went in all the world. Today, the Bible goes into all the world. Now here's what you want. This is what man can't make. He can't make the Holy Ghost. And he can't do nothing with the Holy Ghost. That's what lives in me. That's what I want. God said writings does not work. They can't keep them. It's too weak in the flesh. I'm going to send you me. I said, that's what I want. Live in me. He knows all the history. The Holy Ghost knows everything. You better get this gift right here. God sent this. This is not made by man. The Bible was made by man. Now choose you this day who you're going to serve. You can't serve 2 gods. You can't serve the Bible and the Holy Ghost. Joshua said, choose you this day who you will serve. For me and my house, I'm going to serve God. Jesus shed his blood on Calvary, raised from the dead, sent back the Holy Ghost. He didn't send no book. He sent God, and God lives in us, not a book, an idol.